have the Tzdukim and these other religions until the temple is destroyed. Then there's nothing for them to do. Our Kohanim, as much as we honor our Kohanim and show deference to our Kohanim, really don't do much compared to what their place was in a temple society where they were the hereditary professional clergy. And they have all been stripped of that. Kohanim have what we call prerogatives. You know, if you're benching the one who calls the Mezuman, if there's a Kohen there, it's supposed to be a Kohen. You do know, of course, that first Aliyah goes to a Kohen, assuming there's a Kohen present. And there is something that has been taken out of conservative practice, which is the Duchan, that is ascending the bima to bless the congregation. That can only be done by the Kohanim. Yes, where they give us the old Mr. Spock and the bracha. Now, as I heard the story, Leonard Nimoy is a Kohen, from whence he derived this particular salute for the Vulcans. Yes. The Kohanim are not necessarily a particularly logical people. However, now, the Duchan is removed from conservative Judaism because Solomon Schechter believed we should not be making hereditary differences between Jews. But he didn't take out the first Aliyah and all the other things that are hereditary differences between Jews. We've lost a lot by losing the Duchen. The Duchen is a very special, important ritual. The Duchen is a model, as the Kohanim are models for the Jews. The Jews are to be to humanity. And the Duchen is a symbol of the role of the Jewish people in society. It's not so much what the Kohen gets, it's what the Kohen doesn't get. He doesn't get compensated. Not only does he not get a pay, a salary that a professional clergyman would, a share of the sacrifice or anything else, and it's interesting to note that even in temple times, he was compensated for all the other rituals. He got a cut of all the other meat. He got a percentage of the produce. The duchen he did for free. And now, what is it added to that? Plenty of people do it for free. They come up to daven, they come up to read Torah, they come up for an aliyah, all for free. Not for free necessarily even. For a negative salary. There are aliyot auctioned off and people pay to do it because they get the glory. And everybody in the Kehillah looks up there and sees them, and the Kohen is deprived even of that intangible compensation. Gets no glory for the act. You're not allowed to look at him while he's doing it. So now, deprived of all this, why does the Kohen ascend the Duchen? We are taught out of a love for the Jewish people. Selfless. For nothing, just because we love you. And the Jews are taught that we keep the mitzvot to be a blessing to all humanity for exactly the same reason. Selfless, uncompensated love.
I have a question concerning the unwritten law. And I'm asking myself, I remember when I was a kid, I played a game in school called telephone. And what started out at one end was very different from what came out at the other. What's to prevent the oral law from being diluted or corrupted? And does there exist now a dispute over any of the wording, or is it just accepted? What I'm really after is it written down somewhere?
The oral law in writing is what has been referred to for the last several centuries as the Talmud. It includes the form that we have it in today is relatively new. It's a couple of 100 years old. It is called the Vilna Shas. The Shas stands for Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, the 6 orders of the Mishnah. And it's called the Vilna Shas not because it was published there. It's Diffus Vilna because HaGaon, Rabbeinu Eliyahu, Rabbi Elijah, the Vilna Gaon, is the one who edited is almost too strong a word, put it together in the form we have it today, meaning that every Talmud everywhere in the world has the same pagination. So I can say this page, this side, this line, this word, and we're all in this pointing a pin at exactly the same word. That's the Vilna Shas. Now what he did was, he traveled all around Europe, he collected all the extant versions of the Talmud that he could find, and he reconciled them. supposedly the reconciliation was monumental only in collecting the works, but that the differences were not great. Once in a while, and I mean once every several pages, and that's a lot of material in the economy of Talmudic words, once every several pages, you will find some words that are parenthetical. The parentheses are there because he could not absolutely reconcile two versions of these couple of words or this phrase, and so he stuck it in, but he put parentheses around it because he wasn't absolutely sure. The rest of the time he was absolutely sure. He gave us the middle of the page, which is Mishnah followed by Gemara. That's the Talmud proper, and he gave it to us in the form universally studied for the last couple of centuries, which is on the inside of every page, the commentary of Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, the famous biblical commentary Rashi, who is even more indispensable if we could think of such a thing for the study of Talmud. And then on the outside of every page, mostly those sages who were Shlomo Yitzchaki's sons-in-law and grandsons, the Baalei Tosafot. Those are on the outside of the page. And then you have the back of the page people that are the Gaonim, Rishonim, and Achronim, all the commentaries throughout all this time. Now, is the oral law absolutely intact? If the oral law were absolutely intact, you couldn't have a Hillel saying that we light Hanukkah candles 1 to 8, and Shammai saying that we light Hanukkah candles 8 to 1. There obviously have become some discrepancies in the Masorah. But there is this wonderful concept that the Talmud applies that shows us ultimately that the Talmud is at once a living, or Judaism and Torah is at once a living religion and a way of life, but not ultimately fathomable by the human. And that is, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. When there is a machloket, when there is a discrepancy between two schools or two sages, we don't say one is right and one is wrong. We say that due to the majority opinion, we follow one way and we do not follow the other way. But these and these, both sides, are the words of the living God. The Midrash that is not readily understandable, of course not meant to be taken literally, that is meant to teach us an allegorical nature of Torah and its wisdom, is that when there is a machloket, a dispute in the oral law, Moses was taught both sides.
The other question I had.
Go ahead.
Is there a meaning? Words change meaning over time, and so one word may have meant at one time may mean something completely different today. Is there a way to correct that?
The Tosafot are very big fans of as a matter of fact, commenting on changes in the world. What's changed in the world? It was their opinion that all sorts of things have changed biologically and physically, that the human being has changed, all sorts of things. For instance, Rav Moshe Feinstein uses the measure of the Amma, the cubit, as being 2 feet. He bases this on a Dat Yachid, a single opinion of the Tosafot, that it's 24 inches. He had some kind of standardized inches. He was a medieval scholar, so perhaps he had Roman inches, I don't know. But he gets 2 feet from the Tosafot, who were the only opinion at that time who did it. Everybody else believed, all the other Rishonim, that a cubit in Amma is 18 inches. What does it have to do with anything? It actually has halachic implications in terms of Shabbat and what a techum could be, what area you can guard off for Shabbat and things like that. All the other opinions say it's 18 inches. Because in Amma, all of the measurements were based on something physical. A tefach is the measurement of a fist for the 5 knuckles. And Amma is the measure of an adult male elbow to the tip of the pinky. Now, if you take a measuring tape and do it, you will probably not be able to find a mutant on any basketball team who's got 2 feet up to there. That bespeaks proportions of probably 8 or 9 feet in height. Now, what does the Tosafot say? He says it's 2 feet. People used to be that tall, he said, and we've shrunk. And he has all sorts of other commentary on what has changed. So, for instance, there is a custom called Mayim Achronim, last waters. Perhaps you have seen this at a table, that when dinner is over, they bring a little thing to clean your fingertips off at the end. The Talmud leaves us fairly certain that this is a requirement to do at the end of a meal, although you don't say a bracha on it. The Tosafot, now remember the Balei